So what is love? I mean, is it just a feeling, something fleeting, or is it an action? Maybe something deeper? It's a huge question, isn't it?
It really is. It's something everyone wonders about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's probably kept most of us up at night at some point trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Today on the Deep Dive, we're really going to try and explore that. We're drawing insights from a really specific study, the Seeking Wholeness series by Unchained Disciples.
Right, the bi-weekly Bible study led by Michael Lieberman. They've spent, 5 years looking into mental, emotional, and spiritual health.
That's the one. 5 years deep. So our mission here is to unpack the different facets of love, romantic, divine, all of it, using the lens of their work. We want to get some clarity and maybe some practical understanding of how their insights suggest we can show true love in our lives.
And this kind of exploration, as the Seeking Wholeness series presents it, is just so crucial, not just for understanding ourselves, but, our relationships too.
Yeah.
We're aiming to look past some of the, let's say, common ideas society throws around, maybe uncover some deeper truths about connection, about purpose. The series has really hammered home how love impacts our whole being, mental, emotional, spiritual. Getting into its nature is, it's central to that whole picture.
Okay, so let's start there with how the world often pictures love, especially romantic love. I mean, for ages, we had that Romeo and Juliet thing, right?
With tense passion.
Super intense, yeah. This idea that true love is this, burning fire that lasts till death, maybe even beyond. This undying flame narrative.
It's interesting, though, how that older ideal sort of morphed. The Seeking Wholeness study points out that today, maybe it's even more problematic.
How so?
Well, the study suggests that now true love often gets defined as this passionate feeling that's supposed to never fade.
Ah, okay. The forever honeymoon phase.
Exactly. And the problem they highlight is if that initial intense feeling does start to fade, which, let's be honest, it often does,
right,
then people conclude, oh, this wasn't true love after all. And that sadly becomes a justification for, leaving the relationship.
So you end up committed to a feeling, not a person.
That's precisely the point the series makes. You're committed to feeling happy, feeling that rush, rather than committed to the actual person. And because feelings, they're up and down, you can't really control them, it makes relationships feel incredibly unstable.
That's a really stark contrast. So if that modern view is built on something so shaky, what's the alternative? What framework does the Seeking Wholeness series offer for building something, more solid?
It really pushes back against those feeling-based definitions. The series looks at older teachings, like that command from Jesus in John 15.
Okay.
It emphasizes a love that's about action, about sacrifice. It brings up that idea that greater love has no one than this, that a person will lay down his life for his friends.
Wow. That's definitely not about just warm fuzzies.
Not at all. It's a completely different kind of instruction, a different standard.
It sounds challenging, too. The Seeking Wholeness study also talked about the tension that comes up, right? Especially with loving people who maybe do, evil things. How does the study suggest navigating that?
Yeah, that's where it gets really nuanced. The study brings in passages like from Romans 12 and 13,
Yeah.
Abhor what is evil, hold fast to what is good.
Right. Hate the sin, love the sinner kind of idea.
Sort of, yeah. But the challenge the study poses is, how do you actually do that? How do you hate the evil action but still genuinely love the person doing it? It's tough to speak the truth in love, as they say, especially if someone isn't ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
The material suggests that sometimes the aim isn't instant change. Sometimes it's just about planting a seed, hoping it grows later. That takes a lot of discernment.
That discernment feels key.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how in English we have this one word, love, that covers so much ground.
Right.
Like, I love my wife, but I also love pizza. It's the same word. My wife would probably be a bit offended if I loved her the same way I love pizza.
Understand.
This is where, as the study points out, ancient Greek is actually pretty helpful. They had different words for different kinds of love.
Exactly. The Seeking Wholeness series highlighted 4 main ones from the New Testament. First, you've got Storge.
Storge.
Yeah, Storge. It's like family love.
Right.
That natural fondness, familiarity you have with relatives.
Okay, well, like for your parents or siblings.
Right. And what's interesting about Storge, according to the study's take, is that it kind of exists even if the family member is difficult or, horrible, as they put it. It's not based on their actions or whether you approve of them. It's just there. An inherent bond.
Okay, what's next?
Then there's Philia. That's brotherly love, friendship. Think Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Ah, right.
This isn't about blood ties, it's a chosen connection. The series mentioned this is the kind of love Jesus told his followers to have for each other in John 13, that this Philia would show everyone they were his disciples. It's chosen, it's given freely.
Okay, so family love, friend love. What else?
Third is Eros. This is the one most people think of first, maybe. Romantic or sexual love.
Where erotic comes from.
Exactly. The series acknowledges its power, obviously, but also notes that Eros can sometimes be more focused on, shall we say, its own interests, seeking personal satisfaction or desire within the relationship.
Okay. And the fourth one?
The big one, really, emphasized in the study, Agape. Agape. This is unconditional love.
Unconditional.
Yes. The series frames this as the kind of love God has for us and the kind we're called to show others. But what's really fascinating, and the study digs into this, is that the meaning of agape in the Bible wasn't just borrowed from Greek culture.
Oh.
The study argues it was actually redefined by how Jesus himself lived and loved. So this love isn't primarily a feeling, it's presented as a choice, an action.
Choice and action.
Right. Intentionally putting others' well-being first. Romans 5.8 is the classic example they use. But God demonstrates his own love toward us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That's agape in action. It's the model to strive for. And honestly, the study suggests to even get close to that kind of love requires, well, more than just human effort. It points towards needing divine help.
It's amazing having those distinct words. It really clarifies things. Did the Seeking Wholeness study mention any other, maybe less common Greek words for love?
It did touch on one more briefly, mania. M-A-N-I-A.
Mania. Like
maniac, yeah.
Yeah.
It apparently signifies a kind of crazy love, an obsessive or mad love.
Whoa. Okay, so the Greeks really covered the whole spectrum, from unconditional sacrifice to literal madness. That's
It shows the complexity, doesn't it?
It really does. But let's circle back to that core question, especially about romantic love. If we move beyond just the initial feelings, beyond even these specific Greek terms, is love just a good feeling? Is it something we do? Where does it actually come from?
That's a great set of questions. And the Seeking Wholeness series offers some insight by first drawing a line between love and attraction. Attraction, they explain, is more like an emotion, a feeling. It's not entirely in our control, right? Like, you don't choose what food tastes good to you. You just react.
Right, it just happens.
And it can change over time. Think about foods you used to hate, but like now, or vice versa. Attraction can be like that.
Okay, so attraction is the feeling. What about love then?
Well, when we talk about love as an emotion, especially that initial buzz, love at first sight, the warm fuzzies the study connects that strongly to brain chemistry, specifically dopamine.
The happiness hormone.
Exactly. It creates that sense of craving, anticipation, pleasure. Like when you see that little red notification dot on your phone, you get a little dopamine hit, wanting to see what it is.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But here's the thing. That dopamine-fueled honeymoon phase rush. The study says it typically lasts somewhere between, say, 6 and 18 months. It naturally subsides.
Okay, so if dopamine fades, what keeps love going? What about the long haul?
Good question. The study points to other love hormones that are more about sustained connection, like oxytocin.
The cuddle hormone.
Released during physical touch, intimacy, cuddling, even just deep, meaningful conversation. It builds emotional bonds, trust.
Yeah.
And then there are endorphins. These are like the body's natural mood elevators and painkillers. They create longer-term feelings of happiness, relaxation, even euphoria.
And how are those released in relationships?
According to the study, through things like shared hobbies, laughing together, supporting each other, just nurturing the relationship. And unlike dopamine, the effects of oxytocin and endorphins in a healthy relationship can last. Well, the study says endlessly.
It's amazing how the study connects the emotional and the biological. It suggests love isn't just good for the soul, it's literally like medicine, a healer.
Absolutely.
They mentioned this concept, sociogenomics. Did I get that right?
Yes, sociogenomics.
The idea that our social connections actually change our genes. Like loving connections turn on repair genes and conflict turns on inflammation genes. That's mind-blowing.
It really is. It shows just how deeply our relationships affect us, right down to the cellular level. But the Seeking Wholeness series stresses it's not just about chemicals. There are other vital parts.
Like what?
Well, first, love is a decision. An act of will.
Okay.
The study references Ephesians 5, talking about husbands loving wives, wives respecting husbands. And it introduced this idea from Tim Timberlake about 2 vows in marriage.
2 vows?
Yeah. The vow of priority, which from this perspective means God first, spouse second, ahead of jobs, family, even kids. And the vow of pursuit, meaning you commit to actively pursuing your spouse for life, no matter how feelings might fluctuate.
Continuously pursuing them. Okay, that's a commitment. What else?
Second, the study heavily emphasizes love is an action. It points to 1 John 3.18. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth.
So talk is cheap.
Pretty much. Love is something the giver does and the receiver experiences as a feeling. The series had this really vivid picture, a man instinctively shielding his wife's head when something was about to fall on her. His actions screamed love, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And the study constantly loops back to Jesus' love being about action. Even loving enemies, like in Luke 6, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you. It's not about feeling warm and fuzzy towards enemies, but acting lovingly.
Right. Okay. Decision, action.
Third, love is a response to value. The series suggests you love something because you recognize its worth.
How do you mean?
Like, think of someone with a prized sneaker collection. They keep them pristine, maybe in a glass case, right?
Okay.
Why? Because they value them. The study applies this to people. If you truly value someone, you'll care for them, protect the relationship.
So valuing leads to loving actions. Makes sense. What's the last one?
The last one, and maybe the peak, according to the study, is love is sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. This is seen as the ultimate display of love. They quote 1 John 3.16. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters.
Laying down your life.
It doesn't always mean literally dying, though. Sacrifice, as the study defines it, is doing something you don't want to do, when you don't want to do it, but with the right attitude, all for the other person's benefit. The study shared this incredibly powerful story about Christians on a sinking ship giving away their life jackets to others, saying, we know where we're going. That willingness to sacrifice, that's presented as the ultimate proof of faith and love.
Wow. That's intense.
It's a world away from love is blind, which is really just that dopamine phase, right? The reality, as the study frames it using biblical descriptions, is love is patient, love is kind. You see sacrifice in everyday things, too, like parents getting up at 3 a.m. for a sick kid or, freezing outside while your dog does its business.
Yes, relatable sacrifices.
There's a quote in the study that really hit home for me. When someone helps you when they're struggling too, that's not help, that's love.
Oh, that's powerful. That really captures it. And it brings us to something really challenging the study addressed. The heart of stone. That idea of someone who's been hurt and just shuts down emotionally. And you've probably encountered this, right? Either yourself or someone else.
Yeah.
It's so tough to deal with.
Definitely. A heart of stone, referencing that passage in Ezekiel, is basically a heart that opened up once, got badly hurt, and now it's terrified of loving again. Fearful because of past wounds, maybe early relationships.
And how does that usually show up?
The pattern the study describes is often like this. The person gets close, things feel good for a bit, and suddenly they pick a fight over something small. They find reasons to push away, always justifying it. It's a defense mechanism.
To protect themselves from getting hurt again.
Exactly. And the study makes a point to distinguish this from something like narcissism. It's driven by fear, deep down, not a feeling of superiority. They want love, desperately perhaps, but they're just so scared of the vulnerability it requires.
That makes so much sense. Okay, so if fear is the root cause, how on earth, according to the Seeking Wholeness series, do you help heal a heart like that? Especially if you're in a committed relationship with them. Sounds like climbing a mountain.
It is a huge undertaking. The study turns to 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, not just as nice words, but as a kind of counterintuitive instruction manual for healing.
How does that work in practice?
The core idea presented is imperfect love caused the wound, so perfect love meaning trying to display God's kind of love, that agape love is the cure. This involves things like, not keeping score of wrongs, forgiving easily, sometimes even agreeing with accusations or apologizing for stuff you didn't actually do just to diffuse the fear and defensiveness.
Wow, okay, that's hard.
It is. It means consciously avoiding giving them reasons to shut down. Constantly offering reassurance when they ask, do you really love me, even for the 100th time? It means enduring their tests when they push you away just to see if you'll actually stay this time.
That sounds exhausting.
It's described as a tall order, absolutely. It requires immense patience and that agape kind of love. The study does also strongly suggest seeking counseling to help navigate those ingrained triggers and patterns for both people.
That really underlines that love isn't passive. It's this active, sometimes incredibly difficult commitment. The study mentioned an insight, I think, from a video clip about how people love based on how they've been loved.
Yes, that was powerful. The idea that most people are only able to love to a limit, and that limit is what they have seen before. If they truly knew better, they would do better.
Hmm. It fosters compassion, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seeing people, as the study suggests, through God's eyes, like children needing forgiveness, attention, affection, recognizing their brokenness alongside our own.
Exactly. And importantly, the series added a crucial caveat. Forgiveness was never about the other person, but about your heart becoming more like mine. Forgiveness is for your healing. And sometimes, if the relationship is constantly toxic and damaging you, it's okay to love them from afar. Protecting your own well-being is also vital.
That's a really important balance, love and boundaries.
Precisely. And this ties into the final big idea the study explored, restoration through connection.
Restoration through connection.
Yeah. The series points out that sometimes our struggles aren't just, say, medical or psychological issues in isolation. Sometimes they stem from a fundamentally disconnected soul.
Good.
Think about a little kid who falls and scrapes their knee. They're crying, maybe screaming for mom. Mom comes, gives them a hug, maybe kisses the knee. And the child often calms down, feels better.
Right. We've all seen that.
We now understand the science behind that, as the study notes. The hug releases oxytocin, endorphins, those very hormones we talked about, which actually reduce the physical pain signals. The connection itself has a healing effect. The study suggests this applies to deeper psychological and soul-level hurts, too. Connection can be profoundly restorative.
That's incredible. So showing love, the kind of love explored in this series, it doesn't always need a therapy license or a degree. Sometimes it's just being willing to be vulnerable, to connect, to allow ourselves to be held and to hold others.
Exactly. It's about facing that fear of vulnerability and just showing up authentically for each other. And that really brings it all together. The Seeking Wholeness series summed it up so powerfully, saying something like, association with Jesus is not marked entirely by power because the Bible doesn't say God is power. The Bible says God is love. So I look like Jesus the most when I can love you radically, when it doesn't make any sense, when I should hate you, but I can't help it but love you.
Wow. Radical love when it makes no logical sense.
That's the essence of agape as the study presents it. It's in that radical, unconditional love that we, from this perspective, most closely reflect the divine nature.
What an amazing journey through this coin, what is love? We've gone from just feelings and attraction all the way to conscious decisions, valuing others, taking action, and even sacrifice.
Yeah.
Seeing how love is framed in the Seeking Wholeness series as this powerful biological and spiritual healer, capable even of mending a heart of stone. It's profound. That idea of restoration through connection and the call to radical love. It really gives you a lot to think about.
It really does. And maybe as a final thought for you listening, consider a relationship in your own life. Could be romantic, family, or friendship. Maybe one where loving consistently feels hard sometimes. How might understanding love as a choice, as an action, even as sacrifice, drawing on these insights from the Seeking Wholeness series, maybe shift how you approach that relationship this week? And beyond that, how might recognizing the deeper, unconditional agape love that the series talks about, the love available to you, empower you perhaps to offer that same radical love out to others, even when it's difficult?